I used to struggle breaking haircuts down, and that was until I found a system that was simple, straightforward, and allowed me to see any haircut, no matter where it was, in a still image, a reel, a short, and break it down with a sense of predictability, and not to mention personalize it to my client. So I'm gonna run through 5 different reels that I found on social media. I haven't seen all the haircuts in their entirety, but I wanna run through them in real time, which is gonna be kind of fast. And if you've seen the hairdresser breakdown videos already, you realize that I can sound like an auctioneer. I may mess up because it moves that quickly, but what I want to stabilize with that is that's how fast your brain is having to process information, and that's why having a system is an integral thing to have in place when it comes down to breaking any haircut down. So this first video is from a group of mine. I was going to say a friend of mine, but they are friends. Statement Grooming Goods. I've worked with their team intimately on breaking their aesthetic down into formatable classes. So helping them to basically curate their vision into technical teaching. So let's break this haircut down. We've got a radial parting separating the back from the front, horizontal parting at the mid recession there over the parietal ridge. We're doing 90 to over direct with vertical flat layers through the back there. Everything was 90 off the surface of that section. We've got a profile section up and through the top, blunt cutting everything 90 degrees from the section, diffusing it, freehand carving through it, and using a large tooth comb, we're starting to piece it out. So my friends, that's how fast this haircut went. So let's just break it down. This parting right here is called a radial parting. That separates the back of the head from the front of the head. This parting right here is called a horizontal parting, and it's taken from the mid recession to the radial parting, separating the top of the head from the sides of the head. It looks like they took that radial again. Okay, so right in through here, we've got vertical flat layers with the exception of right here where it says that little play button. You can see the surface of that section is 90 degrees from the curvature of the head. That's also called the convex area of the head, and it's pretty much right in the center of the crown of the head, and he's blunt cutting this line. Oh, and then it just skipped right over to the right behind the back of the ear. So my assumption is that everything stayed on base with those vertical flat layers. Again, cutting it to the round of the head. Over direction is happening in regards to elevation, which is what's allowing the mullet to be a little bit longer in through the back of the head. Continuing to blunt cut that, and then he just looked like it reversed his line a little bit on the sides there. So as it was sort of stacking up this way in the back, on the sides there, I guess it stayed the same actually. He still continued to have graduation. Shame on me. Actually, yeah, no, in the back, it was the opposite. It sort of stacked out this way to give length through the base of the neck, and then he reversed that around on the side, so the right there at the parietal ridge was a little bit longer and shorter around the ear. Everything is being held basically at 1 finger's depth across the top of the head. He's cutting that flat, and then jumping right up into the top. And my assumption is the length that he cut the bang, he's elevating that up 90 degrees and using that as a guide to length to cut everything else on the top. And I would imagine everything stays on base. It doesn't show the other sections. That's freehand channel cutting right there, just to get grooves in the hair, separation to it. This look is definitely popping right now. Super, super, super cool. So let's get right into the next one here. Warren Tricomi. This guy kind of became before me, which is hard to even say now. You don't see many hairdressers that came before me. I've been doing hair for 36 years, but this guy's a legend. If you don't know who he is, definitely look him up. He's got a huge name in New York, and they've been really influential in the fashion world over decades now. But let's see what he's got going on here. It looks like he's going to be doing a dry cut. He's blunt cutting that at 0 degrees, maybe slight bit of elevation there, but pretty much just to reach it. He's cutting from the inside out there, shorter pushing longer, gives that little whip in through there. That's called back cutting right there. He's elevating 90 degrees off the occipital bone and then up and through the front. Looked like he was using forward graduation, 90 degrees off the top of the head to get square layers or flat layers across the top. Internal channel cutting, again, just displacing weight through those ends there to get more of a whimsical nature to the hair. I mean, it looks like it's a lot of sort of freehand artistic cutting. She's so cute. Little 2 thumbs up. Okay, so we're going to slow this down now. Blunt cutting through there. So 0 degrees. You see his hands twisted out. His palm is towards his chest. That's going to flip the hair out. So if you want to get flipped through the bottom of the haircut, pitch your palm towards your chest. That will flip the hair out by cutting the surface of that section slightly shorter, the underneath of that section slightly longer. And of course, we say it all the time, shorter pushes longer. It's exactly what's going on there. Same thing over the shoulder there. He's got her leaning away from where he's standing. He's centered with every single section there. No over direction in it. Now, again, just internal channel cutting, more freehand than anything, working the baseline of that second side there. A little bit of back cutting. You saw him sort of rocking through that. And that was more 90 degrees from the center of the section, which, to be honest, is convex layers. So cutting it a little bit shorter in the parietal ridge area and then squaring that off through the top of the head and just continuing to work any sort of personalization through the rest of that haircut, all dry cut. Clearly a lot of experience coming with that haircut. You saw how freely he was moving through it, but he's got the architecture in place in order to break the rules. And that is what I would say is happening there. Now, this is a really cool sectioning pattern. This is what we call the sloping horseshoe, separating our layers from our length. But let's see what we've got. We got vertical flat layers, blunt cutting that, slight diagonal forward sections, continuing to follow the previous section as a guide to length, 90 degrees out from the surface of that section, continuing to rotate through the head or move around the rotation of the head, diagonal forward sections in every single case. Every single section seemed to stay on base in the back and then was over directed from the back of the ear forward. Let's see if we can see the same thing on this side. So vertical flat layers on base, 90 degrees from the surface of that section, over directed back to the radial again, which is going to expand length as we move through the sides there. Clean section, geez. Clearly building a G-bob here. Cutting to the round of the head, that's convex layers, everything staying on base. Taking a diagonal back there, triangular section, bringing that right up to the profile. That's going to increase length through the parietal ridge here. That's creating a concave layer up through the top there. Continuing to work through the bottom. Now dry cutting and displacing weight through the ends with point cutting. That's cute. That's cool. All right, so we're going to work through this a little bit more slowly here. Diagonal forward partings over and over again, and everything stays on base. You can see the surface of that section is parallel to the ground. So as long as the surface is parallel, you're going off 90 degrees from the crown of the head, continuing to work that around to the back of the ear. And then this is where he starts to over direct, or she, I should say, I don't even know if it's a guy or girl. Over directs everything towards the back of the ear, which elongates that front length there, continuing to build a little bit of graduation through the sides, and then working that out through the opposite side there. And let's see what he does next. I forget. I want to say he blew dry the top part and cut it dry, but I don't remember now. Nope, it's still wet. Oh yeah, cutting to the round of the head, convex layers behind the back of the radial. It looks like everything's staying on base. He might be over directing the sides behind the back of the radial to the middle there. Let's stop that just for a second. And then he's got these diagonal back sections, shorter, or not shorter, but from the profile here, almost pivoting from the profile towards the back of the radial, and then over directing that towards the top. And anytime anything is over directed, it's going to be longer in length. So if it's not on base and it's moving forward from where it naturally lives, it's going to be longer. Both sides here, traditional concave layers. This is what we learned in Cutting Course 1, our first certification course. Just polishing up the edges there with any sense of lapping or overhead, rough cutting it, now dry cutting it. It looked like with a triple clamp technique, actually, and working that out into dry. All right, cool. What's our next one? Well, that's a bright picture. Vertical flat layers again. So top of that section's parallel to the ground. Wow, great dexterity with the hands there. Blunt cutting that line. Of course, the top is going to be shorter. The bottom is going to be longer. When he drops that, oh, wow. Well, he doesn't show us anything from the cut, but that is freaking cute. That's very like Gianni Scarpese, and I think that's his last name, and Ben Brown-esque right there. I wonder if this guy trained with them. Who is this? Herbert something. I can't see his last name. But needless to say, beautiful style, beautiful color. That sort of papaya orange color is so dope. With some soft golden buttery highlights in there. But this is a good point, right? So I talked about having a system is an integral thing for you to find predictability in your work, you to be able to take a visual and apply it to any head of hair, whether it's curly or straight, dense or thick, or, you know, both, whatever it might be. Having a system allows you to have artistic freedom with architectural understanding, and that is ginormous. And when we're seeing visuals like this where you literally see one section and then it's the end result, they're not giving you all the steps in between to find predictability in this work, let alone to apply it to any given person. So a huge example of that. Yeah, let me go back to it one more time. God, it's so pretty. Again, I think he only took one section. Well, it looks like we've spent more time showing the finished end result than the actual technical application, which is fine. Just doesn't show us what we're doing here. So one section that's on base, vertical flat layers, surface of that section is parallel to the ground. Of course, it's going to be longer underneath. Yeah, that's all he gives us. All right, cool. Oh yeah, I found this one. This isn't a haircut, this is a color. Clearly we've got on scalp bleach here, but I'm gonna talk to the cut after we see the color application here. It's a really beautiful color. Look at that. So the on scalp bleach is stunning. It's got a nice platinum color, some yellow through the ends there. It's so cool, but I'm gonna run through it. Is that it? Yeah, okay. So it's gonna flip back over to it again. I'm gonna break this haircut down real quick here so you understand what's going on. Okay, here we go. So everything is cut basically with vertical flat layers. Again, you see that length up and through the top there where my cursor's moving, and then inside of it, it's slightly shorter. So from the, I would say the occipital bone to the back of the crown, so with that bone right in the back of the center of the head to the top of the crown, all of that is pulled straight out. And then from that point down, which usually we're going to find a concave area of the head and what we call diagonal forward partings to create what's called an inverted V. So kind of where my cursor is to the back of the ear there. It's also called the masseter process on each side. Isolating that, it's probably freehand cut with a flat line across the bottom, freehand through the inside here, and then they built what's probably using forward graduation in through the sides there. Do they show us the front? I don't know if they do, I forget. They don't. All right, cool. So, and then the front part I would assume is vertical flat layers continuing to work around the head, which seems to be a theme in all of these haircuts that we've seen so far. Look at that yellow, it's just so legit. I'm gonna stop it right there. So my friends, once again, I'm Travis Parker from Hairdressing Made Easy and the Travis Parker Academy. We've got in-person classes, we've got live online classes, and we've got video e-courses and e-learning classes. Jump into any of our assets. We've got holiday specials going on right now. May want to check out. Definitely hit that subscription button. Definitely give us a thumbs up. Jump into the comments. Tell me what you want to see next and how I can support you as a hairdresser in your journey. Thanks so much, my friends. Until the next time, take care and cheers.